Dragon's Dogma 2 offers 10 diverse vocations, from basic to advanced to hybrid, each one delivering a different utility or bit of offense to your party. But at what point do the basic vocations get phased out for the new ones? When should you even change to one of the advanced or hybrid vocations? Well, in this video today, we're going to be discussing just that by looking at each of the 4 basic vocations to discuss how they apply their skills throughout the game. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge of my videos so you can decide if it's the right one for you. So with that being said, you can stay any of the basic vocations from level 1 all the way to level 200 into New Game Plus and beyond without a single problem. The advanced vocations aren't better forms of the basic ones. Nay, they're simply hyper-focused ones. Take the Mage, for example. Mage is an offensive support and utility caster, buffing, healing, and doing damage. The Sorcerer is an offensive powerhouse, destroying things with AoEs, area of effects, and what have you. Both are totally viable in the same party, and I actually have some really fun party composition ideas, so let me know if you'd like a video on that in the comment section below. But really what we'll be doing here is talking about why you should play one, if not all, the basic vocations to a certain point, because this game is so much more about swapping vocations and party members to get all the fun augmentations than it is just simply playing one class the entire way through. But that's the entire gist of this video, and if that's all you wanted to know, then please feel free to shut the video down and get back to enjoying your experience in Dragon's Dogma 2. Assuming your performance permits it and the performance patch is finally out or whatever. But before you do, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe if this video helped you, as that has a huge impact on my channel. If you have not yet picked up Dragon's Dogma 2 for the PC, you can use the link to my Capcom affiliated Nexus Store in the comments and description. This will get you a key directly from the developer, and I get something like 20% commission, which goes a long way towards supplying my mini Aussie's vicious treat addiction. Also, you can find my pawn ID in the description as well. But let's get started here on basic vocations. Are they the best classes in Dragon's Dogma 2? Starting our conversation off with the Archer, we have a character that has a lot of really good dynamic range, and I've talked about this in another video, but pretty much the best thing about the Archer is that it is consistent DPS and it can constantly deliver that ranged damage. And as a base class, that's a nice thing to do. It has AoE as far as a kind of cone in front of it, and its augments are very strong. What I really like about the Archer's augments is that I use them on almost every single one of my other classes. Endurance, increase your maximum stamina, is so good. And Ambuscade, if I'm using maybe the Thief or any of my other characters that are not front fighters, it's a really great one because if I can do a little bit more damage to something that's not aware. And the Archer, I think, kind of sits aside from, of course, you know, the Arcane Archer, right, which has a lot more damage to do. But one of the top augments for the Archer is also doing more damage to weak points. So spending the time with the Archer class, which you'll find when you play this game, if you're not already playing it, you're going to see some quests that basically force you into playing a specific vocations that say, hey, you need to do some archery stuff here, or maybe you need to do some sneaking stuff in this location, what have you. And that kind of, I think it's the game's way of telling you, hey, to get better things on your current class, play a different class or different vocation to kind of help add some spice to it. And I'll get into this more when we talk about the fighter and the thief, of course. But I think that the Archer is one of those ones that I don't think a lot of people typically think of, because they're thinking about the fighter, they're thinking about the mage, they're thinking about that kind of typical trinity. But the range capability of this character is so strong because there are so many monsters that fly around or jump around, and they kind of leave your melee attack range, and that's what makes this character so strong and gives you such really good viability through every stage of the game. Now, I will say that the Archer is probably, I would argue, of the 9 classes, it's pretty damn tricky to kind of get your brain around how it really works, since so many of its abilities are kind of nested in, okay, if I'm going to dash and then press attack, I'll do a slide and then shoot. Or you can do things with jumping on stuff and then jumping off of them and then shooting. You have all these really weird, interesting kind of nested capabilities that some are core skills and some are not. Some are just part of the way the character actually operates and works in the actual game world. So I think that that's a pretty interesting thing, is it makes the character have a very cool, fun, high skill ceiling, while at the same time offering a lot of really fun utility and mobility and maneuverability that allows you to do a lot of really fun damage. And like I said too, being able to persistently do damage to things more than any other class, because you know you're slowed by casting time on mages and sorcerers. And of course the only class that kind of compares to it is going to be that arcane archer, which does a whole different style of other things in addition to being an archer, right? But you as an archer just have such fun capabilities and can really lean into the mage's buffs to just add so much capability and elemental damage to this vocation. So is this the best DPS one in the game? No, but I think it's one of the best persistent DPS vocations in the game. Able to consistently, throughout an engagement with any of the monsters, constantly provide DPS, maybe not at the spiking levels of a thief or the heavy ones of a sorcerer or the massive crushing mounts of a warrior, but the fact that they can just consistently do it. If I could just sit there pressing X or whatever the basic attack is on whatever platform you're on, and just constantly kind of tick away damage, I could basically be treating myself like a damage over time capability as an archer, and I think that's pretty cool. It's something that not a lot of classes have to do because they need to be in melee range, or they need to have the stamina to do it, or they have to wind up their abilities, whatever it is. So I think that the archer's viability, and also it's a lot of goddamn fun to play the archer, is one that is really going to last for the majority of your playthrough. Now, the next vocation I want to talk about is the sword and board master, the fighter. And the fighter is really fun. It's a really great way to play a kind of tank character, to get up close and personal, to be able to jump in the air and smash things down, to be able to kind of use your shield and have people jump off of your shield to do a bunch of really cool dynamic amounts of damage, to get cool maester abilities like Riotous Fury in the very early portions of the game to just allow for a flurry of damage. All this fun stuff comes out of the fighter character. And on top of it, the fighter has really, really great augments, like metal augments your physical defense. Provocation increases the likelihood of being targeted by foes, which can transfer over, both of those can transfer over to warrior just so well. But even moreover, they get one that increases your carry capacity as an augment. That's a great capability to just kind of have on every single character, and I really like that. And that kind of is one that means that, hey, try fighter out for a little bit, unlock that one, and have it really spice up you using. While I was streaming, someone mentioned, hey, you know what, I maxed out archer to get the increased damage to weak points, and then I maxed out fighter to get the increased weight capacity, and I Mystic Spear Hand, and Mystic Spear Hand really kind of hinges upon doing a lot of really cool weak point stuff. So all those things in conjunction make for just a really fun, cool, dynamic character. But the fighter in and of itself is the best tank in the game. Yes, sure, you can tank with the warrior in a lot of different ways, but there's so much direct ways to tank things with the fighter and draw a bunch of quote-unquote aggro to yourself. You have a shield that can just outright parry and mitigate damage. This character is great from level 1, and it's great throughout the entire goddamn game because it's the only one that can do that. Everything else has to use other ways to mitigate their damage, either through maneuverability or specific skills, what have you. And as we've kind of seen a lot of these skills and things kind of take place with the fighter, we've really seen that this is the class that, depending on how your party composition works, it's almost best to have one in the class, either yourself or even as a pawn. And I remember in some of my earlier videos before the game came out, I was thinking, man, maybe a pawn fighter just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I don't often play fighter, and my main pawn is usually a warrior. And I have a fighter in my as just one of the other pawns, and they crush. They do a really good job. They do a pretty good amount of damage. They take the attention away from things. It's a really fun vocation to have as either yourself or as another character. That just, like I said, is going to just has enough meat on it to stay with you from beginning, middle, and end of your playthrough of Dragon's Dogma 2. So fighter has some of the best tanking capabilities in the game. The thief has probably some of the highest mobility capabilities in the game next to the Mystic Spear Hand. You have just, right out the gate, you have an ability that allows you to just jump around and move and dash through things. So that is absolutely huge. And having your weapon skills like Cutting Wind or Helm Splitter, which evolves to Skull Splitter, just allow you to just jump around either vertically or horizontally, whichever one it is. Those things are really huge. Shadow Cloak, which allows you to stealth around. Those are all some really cool things. But looking at the core skills of the thief, we get an ability, a passive called Bump and Lift, which basically every time you use X or carve, your basic attack, you have a chance to steal an item. And furthermore, you have a weapon skill called Pilfer that allows you to kind of actively steal an item if something is flinched or if it's a larger target that's been knocked down. If you use this on it, you can steal unique weapons or armor that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Or maybe they're really expensive, or it takes you a long time to find them in a chest, whatever it is. An example of this would be when you're playing through the early portions of the game, and I don't want to spoil this, but the first dragon you encounter, if you didn't know there's dragons in a game called Dragon's Dogma, the first dragon you encounter throughout the main story quest, which you'll take part in, if you attack it with a thief, you have a chance to get a unique Mystic Spear Hand polearm, which is stupid strong. And right after that ability, or right after that engagement, you get the ability to unlock Mystic Spear Hand. So thief is something that is super viable and something that like I struggle to not have in my party, either as myself or as a pawn, because of that ability for it to steal unique and rare items. That's a really, really, really huge ability that you kind of don't want to miss. And every time I get into like a really spicy fight, I'm wondering to myself, shit, should I have been on a thief here to try and get some things stolen from this? Now, that's not the case of every single thing in the game, right? Sometimes you'll just get a waystone shard or maybe just like something minuscule, but it's still fact remains that there are really important times when you do want to take advantage of that ability to steal and pilfer from things and get those really good items. Now, augments wise too, thief has some great augments, like subtlety here, decrease the likelihood of being targeted by foes. That's great on everything that's not up close and personal doing the damage, right? If I'm on my warrior or my fighter, I probably want to draw some attention towards myself. But if I'm on my archer, a mage, a sorcerer, anyone that I just don't want to take quote unquote aggro from, subtlety is a really great augmentation. Or gratification here, slightly restores health when you deliver the killing blow to a foe. Those are really great capabilities that allow you to kind of just keep your character online and fighting throughout the entire duration of doing any kind of dungeon delving, anything like that. So you don't really need to go back and try and camp as much as possible. So yeah, the thief unfortunately too doesn't have an advanced counterpart, right? It has a hybrid counterpart in the arcane trickster, which is a whole different style of play. But the thief is a character that, like I said earlier in this section, I struggle to not have in the party because of the raw damage capability, the ability for it to have such mobility that it's almost like the first time you put a thief in your party, if it's not you, you're like, oh, okay, I guess we killed those goblins pretty damn fast, huh? And that's a really fun thing about it. But then that added benefit, that added utility of getting stolen items from day one all the way to the end game and on, that is such a huge boon to your entire party. And it's definitely one that's going to keep you on the thief for a long time. I saved kind of the quote unquote best for last, and it's not really even like the best. Best makes it sound like, oh, if I'm not a mage, I've just lost the game. No. Every party composition that I've made so far for myself and experimentation, everything like that, includes a mage. Because the mage's utility in this game is huge. You just don't want to say you need one, because I don't think you really absolutely need one. You can have a lot of fun. There's like 4 thieves just going ass wild, jumping all over the place. But the mage just does so much to your party, and you use it at at day one, you use it at the end of the game. You've got the capability to add boons to your character, fire, lightning, whatever, ice, and that adds elemental damage. So now you can attack those poltergeists or those ghosts that you encounter at night, or this allows you to smash apart specific monsters that are weak to specific elements. Lighting a griffin's wings on fire makes it so that they cannot land, they cannot take off. So if you don't have access to that through your character, the mage is going to give that for you. Or palladium, which is going to give you some defensive characteristics when it comes to outright blocking attacks for you, and then being able to amplify that even further. And even moreover, you have an augmentation here that's going to increase the recovery of your stamina. That's great on every single vocation. So the mage just has so much utility built into it. Even just the basic capability of Levin. No, I'm sorry, not Levin. I'm looking at the spell Levin, which is a lightning capability. But their basic capability to just simply levitate to places and kind of like go all over the place is absolutely huge, because with that with that added capability, you can simply go, hey, I want to get to that chest over there. And I could go all the way around to try and find it, but sometimes you can just simply do it. Or you can actually have a pawn do it for you, have them just levitate up to it and open it up. So having all those things unlocked for you with the mage is absolutely huge. So if you start as a mage, don't feel like at any point you have to go to sorcerer. Go to sorcerer if you want to do more damage. Just like if you're a fighter, if you want to do more damage as fighter, then go to warrior. Can you still be a defensive character as a fighter into a warrior? Yes. Can you still do some of your utility capabilities as a sorcerer? Actually, no. Your ability to just outright heal people is baked into being a mage. So you'll lose a lot of those capabilities, and that's the biggest thing, right? Is mage is the sole character that can heal. No one else can do that. You've got the arcane archer who can resurrect someone who's downed, which is a huge capability. But that's also kind of worth noting here too, is that the arcane archer is a arisen exclusive vocation versus sorcerer and warrior can both be pawn vocations. But I think mage, more than any other of the basic classes, is one that I think that you will guaranteed use from start to finish. I could see myself not playing a fighter anymore. I could see myself subbing out a warrior for it. Or I could see myself not using an archer and maybe subbing out the magic archer on myself, where I almost mainly use archer. And I've said it's a struggle for me to not want to bring a thief just because of that capability to steal things. But the mage, defense, the boon, the healing, the utility, it's just so insane that I just don't see myself ever not wanting one in the party. And every time I want to, like, oh, let's try something different, I'm like, oh, but I miss the boons. Even if I take the wrong mage pawn from the pool, I'm like, oh man, I missed the boons. I got to go back and get another one now. So that just shows you how strong this vocation is, even as a basic vocation that's open from day one. So at that, it brings our video here to a close. And I just wanted to kind of break apart these basic vocations so that when you jump into the game, or if you're in the game right now and you're like, oh man, I'm rushing to get to Magic Archer, I'm rushing to get to Mystic Spear Hand, and I'm afraid I'm losing time in a basic vocation. You know, I don't want people to think that they're jumping into this like, oh, I got to go play that one class because I'm so used to playing video games where I jump in, I select my class, and I'm that class the entire game. This game encourages you to swap your vocations, to swap your pawn, your main pawn's vocation, to get different pawn vocations. All those things kind of set up for yourself rather than simply playing the same thing over and over. And you definitely can, right? I mean, my main character, I usually play an archer, and I'll usually set my main pawn to a warrior, but I've set him to a thief sometimes, and we kind of have this cool little like, oh, Robin Hood thief thing going on. And then I'll get myself a mage and a fighter as my other backup pawns, whatever it is. And I just encourage you to try all these different combinations out, because you can see that the basic vocations, even though they kind of unlock a style of an advanced or a hybrid, well, maybe not directly unlock it, but they give you that kind of taste of that gameplay. There's so much that you get from the augmentations of these basic vocations that you should be definitely dipping into them, trying them out. And you'll find that jumping into them if you were to play the game all the way through as just a mage, or maybe even just to get to level 50 as just a mage, jumping over to a warrior, over to a fighter, doesn't mean that your fighter is under-leveled. It's a level 50 fighter, but with rank 1, meaning they just don't have a ton of weapon and core skills and augmentations unlocked. So your stats will scale to your level of the vocation you choose. So swap these around, have fun with them, try the basic ones out, and really get access to these augmentations. That's going to make your basic, advanced, and hybrid vocation gameplay go through the roof. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Like I said, you can find my pawn ID in the description if you want to bring Tiger here along with you in your many adventures. But if you have any additional things you want to throw in here, hey, yeah, you know what? He brought up a really good point about this. Make sure you get this augmentation, or make sure you really go down this path first. I found that doing it really helped me out, and I'm now a Mystic Spear Hand and I have all these capabilities. Or now I'm an Arcane Trickster, and this really helps me because I did the Mage thing first, and I wanted the stamina recovery or the ability to attack people and do more damage to them since they're not in a combat stance. Whatever it is, just let it be known in the comment section below. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.